Do you think do you think that maybe that's something that we as business owners can tweak on our onboarding to make sure that we're, because a lot of times when I'm hiring a virtual assistant, I go to a job board, someone will say like, I do social media and video editing and copywriting and email. I'm like, but what do you want to do? So do you think that there's ways that we can ask better questions up front so that we can make sure that we're fitting the right people into the right job so that they can actually have that high level of happiness and feel like they're integrated and feel like they're challenged and feel like they're empowered and inspired to do work? Do you feel like there's any good practices for onboarding?
Yeah, I mean, what I want is sometimes a funny, difficult question for people to answer, but I think a
Yeah.
good question is what gives you energy? Is it what tasks you do that really energize you? Because we really experience that. Yeah. I want a sort of preference, a sort of intellectual thing. Maybe I start thinking I should do that. I should do that for my career. But what a strength is what you just love doing. So I would ask them, what do you love doing? What gives you energy? What is it the things you do and you just think, oh, I'd like to do more of that? That's where their passion is. And if you can get people doing their passion in their work, you've got a good role fit there. I mean, onboarding is hard. I like the idea of giving people a week, a month to try out rather than employing somebody straight away. Say, come work with us for a week, a month. Let's all talk about it. Pay them for that, absolutely. But check each other out. I don't know if you knew Tony Hsieh. Did you or know of Tony Hsieh, who was CEO of Zappos, who died recently? I don't know if you remember him.
Mm.
Anyway, he was a great leader, and he used to talk at Zappos. Zappos was very famous for its culture. It was kind of a weird, kooky culture, but
Yep.
very out there. Anyway, he used to give people $2,000 to leave after 6 weeks.
So I got to know more about this. You're paying people to leave your company. Is that what, am
Yeah.
I hearing you right?
I mean, he was a bigger company, so he was, hundreds or if not thousands of people.
Right,
But
right.
basically, he said, if you get a bad fit, it costs you a lot. So if after 4 or 6 weeks, they'd rather take $2,000, maybe 2 weeks' salary, to leave, you've got such value for that decision. Because basically they were going to ruin you. So and it gives them dignity to leave. It goes, yeah, this isn't really quite right for me, and I've got another 2 weeks to find a new job. And I just thought it was genius. I mean, you really have to have a fully functional, good margin business to do that. But it stopped him making hiring mistakes because he'd give people that option. And I mean, and in a way, it's the same thing as at least give people a 1 month probation. Check it afterwards, and dare to give people feedback. I mean, I think sometimes as leaders, we sort of want to sort of, just sort of be softly with people. I find this is my mistake anyway. Softly with people because I like to think I'm a nice guy, which is a bit of a mistake sometimes. But and actually, say, you're doing this. This is great. To do this, we need to learn and work on these things, and see whether people are up for the challenge. And keep looking at that feedback. Everything for me is about learning and a feedback. It's about how do you keep doing that. And you've got to dare to ask the right questions, and you've got to listen to the answers.
Yes, listening and executing for absolutely, absolutely. And I love that example about paying someone to leave the company. I mean, that's just remarkable because if they do decide to stay, they've actually made a financial commitment, which psychologically is a powerful thing for keeping people on board. They've already, you see this a lot of times with these coaching programs and whatnot. When people do it for free, they're much less likely to execute. But if they've invested a couple $1,000s, they'll actually see it all the way through. That's I would never have thought of that. So I'm glad you brought me on the show. I brought you on the show to talk about that. I want to go in on another point here. I know we've only got you for a few more minutes, Nic. Your time is very valuable. You talked about 5 major things that we want to look at: connectivity, fairness, empower your employees, challenge your employees, inspire your employees. These five metrics. When we talk about fairness, this is a difficult thing, right? So are you talking about sharing salaries with everyone, or what do you mean when you say fairness? How can we be more fair with our team members?
So specifically, I think I mean about respecting them and their life outside of work, uh, appreciating them for their efforts beyond just paying them. And fairness is about um, giving everyone the same opportunity to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
It comes much in larger systems. This is more of an issue than in a small team. But let's say you've got a small team even, right? And you sort of got a favorite. Maybe they're your buddy. You knew them before, and everyone else is going to feel, oh well, he always listens to him.
Yeah.
doesn't listen to me. That starts setting up a sort of dynamic of unfairness. That there's something that's not about what I do and how much effort I put. There's a favorite over here. So I mean that's a classic way for unfairness to start coming in a small business. Co-founders have to watch out for that.
Mm.
When you've got two or three co-founders, maybe one of the co-founders isn't the most intelligent person in the system, isn't making the best decision, but they're still listened to because they're one of the co-founders. Well, actually, that should be nothing to do with it. It should be best idea wins. It should be best execution wins, whatever it is. Yeah. So that's what it really about fairness is really respecting people's efforts. And pay comes into that obviously, which is that people need to feel they're paid fairly. It's more about fair pay in terms of happiness than it is about level of pay. So, if you feel you're paid fair to your peers in the organization and outside, then at least that takes money off the table. Those are the sort of ways.
I mean, and to me, a lot of fairness and what you're talking about, the same opportunities, the same level of trust and respect for your employees. To me, a lot of that comes down to being transparent, being transparent of what am I actually looking for in this position? What can you expect if you continue to execute on this position? And I'll give you just a quick example. I was working at a pretty big box realtor. I was working at a very large big box retailer here in South Florida. This was several years ago, and I wanted to move up within the company. And they said, "Okay, Mark, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. You can, run our community organization. You can do some volunteer work. You're getting a college degree. You're doing all the things right." And then when it came time for that position to open up and for them to give that position, they gave it to someone that hadn't done any of those things. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't feel like this is fair. I did exactly what you asked. I executed, and I'm not getting the result that I expected. Yeah. And I don't work for the company anymore, clearly, and
I mean, unfairness is very corrosive, and what it provokes in people is anger. As an emotion, and anger is a very fast-moving emotion. So if you see somebody else is treated unfairly in the organization, you feel angry on their behalf very quickly as well. So it's very contagious. So it's a problem. Transparency is a lot to do with it. So when COVID was coming and all sorts of organizations were struggling, the advice to give was be super transparent about what your business challenges are. People will understand if they. I know we had furloughing in the UK. You didn't have furlough, did you? In the US, you had more people made redundant, and there were, but there were all sorts of challenges. But if you were transparent about it, at least people got it. They understood it. It wasn't what they wanted, but it wasn't unfair.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I think this is a really important thing to talk about, and it is very difficult to navigate because fairness can also be impacted by perception. Someone thinks that they're working really hard, but are you really? Are you really? So this is a tough thing, but I agree with you. The transparency and it definitely made me angry. I did not stay long after I got passed up for that position.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was treated unfairly. So that's really important. And I definitely would encourage everyone, check out the show notes here and definitely check out Nic Marks. You can find him all over the web. He's the founder of Friday Pulse, and he can definitely help you make your people more happy. Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad you enjoyed this episode. I've got several other episodes right here for you. Smash one of these videos to make sure that you don't miss out on the tips, tools, and tactics of industry experts. Let's take that side hustle full time. Smash one of these links.